Hey everyone, so this is the dialogue, and I am looking at the body language, the psyche of Ashton Kutcher, who's doing a speech on human trafficking before the Congress. I'm just going to have a look at bits and pieces of what he's saying just to see if he's truthful about what he's saying. I'm going to also look at the distraction behind him. There's a woman to his left who keeps smirking. So you just have to wonder what's going on there. Very distracting. So let's have a look.
I'd like to start by saying thank you to Chairman Corker for your leadership in this endeavor. I'd like to also say thank you to the rest of the committee that has supported.
Okay, so on the get-go, I can't help but not look at Ashton Kutcher. I'm looking at this woman here who is continuously, and I'm talking 15 minutes worth of smirking behind Ashton Kutcher's back. It's almost as though she is his wife rather than Mila Kunis. And it's just very unusual to have someone smirking. However, I think what's going on with her is that she knows she's on camera and it's a sense of nervousness, and she can't hide the fact that there'll be millions of people watching her, and she just can't hide the fact that she's actually quite gleeful that she's on television at the moment. But you'll watch that she's nodding all the way through, and it is actually really distracting. What you'll find is that people who are truly ardent about what people are going for, you're congruent with what they're saying, but you don't show it on your face and nodding your head. You just know it. It's not a showing. So I just find that a little bit bizarre.
It's abused. It's taken by force, fraud, or coercion. It is sold for the momentary happiness of another. Now, this is about the time when I start talking about politics that the internet trolls tell me to stick to my day job. So I'd like to talk about my day job.
If I didn't know any better, I would say that that woman actually has a crush on Ashton Kutcher.
My day job is as the chairman and the co-founder of Thorn. We build software to fight human trafficking and the sexual exploitation of children.
Okay, so if you look at Ashton Kutcher, okay, away from her, look at Ashton, you will see that there is a sense of congruency with his body language, with his voice. Now, he does have very straight up and down facial features, which he's not very expressive in his face, but a lot of actors are like that because they're conditioned not to smile or express themselves too much because they don't want to get wrinkles.
As part of my anti-trafficking work, I've met victims in Russia, I've met victims in India, I've met victims that have been trafficked from Mexico, victims in New York and New Jersey and all across our country.
Okay, so what you can see that, yes, he's got notes in front of him, and partially his speech is rehearsed and partially it's coming from the cuff. Keep in mind he's an actor, he's used to being in front of people, used to speaking confidently. You portray that to the audience. So, I mean, most things are congruent with what he's saying.
I've been on FBI raids where I've seen things that no person should ever see.
Okay, so you see his head is shaking a little bit, which means that he's congruent. No person should see, so that makes sense.
I've seen video content.
When you lick your lip so much, it means that you are dry and you're nervous or you're full of anxiety. So that's what's going on with Ashton Kutcher.
Of a child that's the same age as mine, being raped by an American man that was a sex tourist in Cambodia.
Okay, so sex tourist in Cambodia. So he's really emphasizing that, which is distasteful for him. Yes, he broke down with his voice, which is congruent with the emotion that he's meant to be portraying. Now, I guess your question is that genuine or is that put on? It's genuine. We'll just go back a little bit and we'll look at his chin as he's talking about the poor girl who's been sexually trafficked.
Being raped by an American man that was a sex tourist in Cambodia.
His chin was a little bit creased, his voice did break up a bit, and that does indicate a sense of sadness as well as, I can't believe it. So there's a little bit of that going on too.
And this child was so conditioned by her environment that she thought she was engaging in play.
Now, okay, yes, he's an actor, but he's banging on those words perfectly. Thought and play. So it seems like it really is coming from the heart, unless he's extremely trained and really he feels nothing, which doesn't seem to be the case here. He is congruent. Let's have a look.
Because we had received a call from the Department of Homeland Security telling us that a 7-year-old girl was being sexually abused and that content was being spread around the dark web. And she had been being abused, and they'd watched her for 3 years, and they could not find the perpetrator, asking us for help.
So what he's saying makes sense. It is truthful. He's banging on the words perfectly if you are passionate. He's using his passion in there. It's not made up stuff here.
We were the last line of defense. An actor and his foundation were...
Oh dear, he's the distraction laughing again, because I think what's going on with her is that she's in awe that Ashton Kutcher, the actor, is here, and that she's sitting behind him, loving every minute of being on camera and pretending that she's being all demure.
I'd like to tell you a story about a 15-year-old girl in Oakland. We'll call her Amy. Amy met a man online, started talking to him.
Okay, now when you touch your nose like that, it's because you're nervous. Now what happens is your face runs out of blood in the cheeks, and it runs into your nose, into your other parts of your body, and it runs into your nose, which makes it itchy.
A short while later, they met in person. Within hours, Amy was abused, raped, and forced into trafficking. She was sold for sex.
Okay, forgive me for actually taking this lightly, because what he's talking about is pretty horrific stuff, disgusting stuff that does need to be tabled, that does need to be discussed. So thank goodness that someone is doing it, whether you believe him or whether you don't. But I believe that there's a degree of good passion here that is congruent with his body language.
On the other side, it's used for trafficking, for drug trafficking, for weapons trafficking, and for human trafficking.
This is the dark web.
And it's also the warehouse for some of the most offensive child abuse images in the world. Now, when the Department of Homeland Security called us...
Okay, so again, I'm actually looking at the woman next to him, nodding. And what I find about her is that I find a real passion lacking with her. And I find a lot of nodding just to indicate that she's on board. But I see absolutely no horror in her face or sadness in her face about what he's talking about. It's really bizarre.
And asked for our help. And asked if we had a tool. I had to say no. And it devastated me.
When he said it devastated me, it is congruent, and he lost his voice to a degree. What I'm saying is there's a lot of emotion, and he's playing it as straight as he can, rather than the other way around when crisis actors come out and they play though they're upset and sad, and yet there's really little behind it.
It haunted me. Because for the next 3 months I had to go to sleep every night and think about that little girl that was still being abused. And the fact that if I built the right thing, we could save her.
He's really passionate. It's coming through his voice. His body's sing-songing in tune with what he's saying. So all in all, I can see that Ashton Kutcher himself is being quite genuine with what he's saying. If we go and have a look at who he's asking money for on behalf of, I guess that's where the controversy is coming in. So basically, Ashton Kutcher is asking on behalf of the McCain company who he wants to get the money for, because he believes that John Cain is on board and his group want to help out with human trafficking, which is controversial. Now, I can't read John McCain, so I can't see how genuine he is in this particular regard, but I can see that he is genuine in the fact that he wants to help these kids and women who are being trafficked, which is great that he's highlighting. Thanks so much for watching The Dialogue. Please ding my bell.